Do you honestly believe fish just go into a coma in March and stop eating? Seriously? 90% of anglers are sitting at home waiting for May, while the other 10% are out there hauling in buckets of crucian right now as you're watching this. Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to absolutely shatter the myth of the spring slump. I promise that after this video, you'll be grabbing your rod, heading to the water, and out fishing everyone who's still complaining about the weather. We're not just talking fishing today. We're cracking the March crucian code. Ready for the truth? Let's go. Let's get one thing straight. March isn't winter anymore, but it's a long way from summer. It's the toughest transition period there is. Underwater, a total revolution is happening. The ice is melting, oxygen is finally moving in, but the water is still bone-chilling cold. The fish are waking up from their winter days, and their metabolism is shifting. They're hungry, but they can't digest heavy, coarse food yet. And that's exactly where the problem starts. Most guys try to catch March crucian the same way they do in August. Same heavy tackle, same buckets of mash, same giant hooks. And they walk away with a big fat zero. A crucian in March is a completely different animal. He's cautious, he's picky, and he's holding in very specific spots. To catch him, you need to think like a biologist and act like a sniper. We're going to break down this strategy step by step. First thing you've got to understand is the water temperature. It's the absolute #1 factor. Carp are heat seekers. In ice-cold water, they aren't going to be chasing after your bait. They're in power save mode, saving every single calorie. So, rule #1, stop looking for active fish all over the lake. Look for the warm water. Even a half-degree difference is a total game changer. Now, where does the water warm up fastest? The shallows. Especially anywhere with a dark bottom. Dark muck or clay acts just like a battery, soaking up the sun's rays. If the sun is out, head to the north shore. Why? Because a south wind will push that warm surface water right to your feet. It's just simple physics. Look for sheltered bays, no more than 3 feet deep. That's where the fish head to sunbathe in the afternoon. Forget the deep holes. Right now, it's cold and dark down there. All the action is in the shallows. Parlons un peu de l'oxygène. C'est le facteur numéro 2, juste après la température. Tout l'hiver, le poisson a manqué d'air, mais là, l'eau de fonte arrive et ramène l'oxygène. Cherchez les endroits où les petits ruisseaux se jettent dans le lac, là où la neige des champs s'écoule, ou même là où la glace commence à percer. Le carassin cherche instinctivement ce courant d'eau fraîche, mais attention, il y a une attrape. L'eau de fonte est souvent très trouble, et le poisson déteste avoir les branchies pleines de vases. Votre zone idéale, c'est la démarcation entre l'eau brouillée et l'eau claire. C'est pile là qu'il faut lancer votre ligne. L'eau trouble apporte le buffet, les vers, les larves, tout ce qui a été lessivé de la rive, alors que l'eau claire offre le confort. Si vous trouvez un petit ruisseau qui se déverse dans une baie, vous avez trouvé le jackpot. Tout le banc va se rassembler là, et croyez-moi, ils vont avoir faim. Давайте поговорим о снастях. Первым делом уберите свои летние дубины в гараж. Мартовский карась сейчас очень капризный. Он не хватает наживку сразу, а лишь аккуратно пробует ее губами. Если почувствует малейшее сопротивление, мгновенно выплюнет. Ваша снасть должна быть деликатной, почти как хирургический инструмент. Теперь про леску. Забудьте про 0,18 или 0,20. Ваша основная леска должна быть максимум 0,12, а на поводок ставьте 0,08 или даже 0,06. Да, это настоящая паутинка. Да, с ней сложно работать. Но поймите, в прозрачной весенней воде толстая леска работает как пугало. Рыба ее отлично видит. Она замечает, что наживка падает неестественно. Тонкая же леска не парусит на ветру и позволяет приманке опускаться плавно и легко. В весенней ловле это самый важный момент. The float. Think of it as your eyes on the water. When it comes to finesse, lightweight floats are everything. 1 gram, maybe 1.5 grams, 2 grams at the absolute most. If there's a breeze, go with a thin-tipped float so you can spot even the tiniest nibbles. Your balance needs to be spot on. The float should dip at the slightest touch. Don't just clamp one big weight right by the hook. Instead, spread your split shots out in a string. Your smallest one, the dropper shot, should be about 2 inches above the hook. When the fish picks up the bait, he shouldn't feel any resistance. If he feels the weight, he's going to spit it out. Your job is to fool his senses and make that bait feel weightless. It's a game of cat and mouse, and you've got to be the smarter player. Hooks. Now, this is a topic where a lot of anglers go wrong. I constantly see people using a size 10 hook and loading it up with a big bunch of worms. In March, that simply doesn't work. The fish have small mouths this time of year, and they're looking for tiny snacks. You've got to scale down to a size 16 or 18. I know they look microscopic, but they need to be made of fine wire and stay razor sharp. Fine wire is key because it doesn't damage your bait. You want those bloodworms to stay alive and keep moving on the hook. If the bait is punctured and just hangs there lifeless like a wet rag, you won't get a bite. A tiny hook is weightless, it gets sucked right in, and the fish doesn't even notice it's there. And don't worry about losing your catch. Modern small hooks have incredible holding power, as long as you let your reels drag and the flexibility of your rod do the heavy lifting. Bait! What's on the menu? In March, carp are hunting for protein. They're gearing up for the spawn and need the extra energy. Forget the bread, dough, corn, or barley. Save those for May. Right now, bloodworms are king. It's their natural food, found right in the muck. Carp know the taste and the smell. Hook just one or two. Don't go for a massive cluster. Hook them through the head so they stay active and wiggly. That movement drives the fish wild. If you don't have bloodworms, small maggots will work. Go for the tiny ones. In cold water, red maggots often outperform white ones. Try a cocktail rig, 1 bloodworm and 1 maggot. It's a classic combo that never fails. Worms. Can you use them? Sure, but there's a trick to it. In early spring, a whole worm is just too much. The fish will spend forever nibbling on the tail, and eventually they'll just give up. If you're using worms, try cutting them into small pieces. A tiny bit, about ½ centimeter, is all you need. When you bait up, make sure the tip of your hook stays exposed. The scent of a cut worm spreads through the water incredibly fast, drawing fish in from a distance. It's like a powerful natural attractant. Honestly, worm juice is the best chemistry nature ever came up with. Give this a try when the bite slows down. More often than not, it's that little piece of worm that triggers the biggest fish to finally strike. Let's talk about baiting. This is where 90% of anglers get it wrong. The golden rule for March is simple. You want to attract, not feed. In cold water, a fish's metabolism is slow. It takes very little for them to feel full. If you dump a pound of heavy mash or grain into the water, the fish will eat a few bites and head off to sleep for 3 days. Your mix has to be low-calorie. The secret is dirt. Just regular soil from a molehill or some store-bought leam. Mix your bait with the soil in a 1:3 or even a 1:5 ratio. The dirt creates a perfect cloud and carries the scent, but it has no nutritional value. The fish will stay on your spot for hours, rooting through the dirt for those tiny particles without ever getting full. That's how you keep them interested. Without soil, you're just killing the bite. Parlons un peu des arômes pour votre amorce. L'été, on mise souvent sur le sucré, la fraise, la vanille ou le miel. Mais attention, quand l'eau est frette, ces odeurs-là ne pardonnent pas. C'est trop agressif et ça manque de naturel. En mars, ce qui score vraiment, c'est le côté épicé et les odeurs animales. On parle d'ail, d'aneth, de coriandre ou de poivre. Même la crevette, le crabe ou le ver de vase fonctionnent très bien. L'ail, c'est carrément votre arme secrète pour le carassin en eau froide. Par contre, allez-y mollo sur le dosage. Dans l'eau froide, les odeurs voyagent plus lentement, mais elles restent plus longtemps et frappent plus fort. C'est toujours mieux d'en mettre moins que trop. Une petite astuce, mettez un peu d'attractant sur vos mains et frottez votre mélange. C'est souvent bien en masse. Évitez de vider la bouteille de chimie directement dans le seau. Vous risquez de brûler votre spot et de faire fuir le poisson à des kilomètres à la ronde. Let's talk about the color of your groundbait. It's absolutely crucial. In early spring, the water is often crystal clear before the runoff kicks in, and the lake bed is usually dark. If you throw down a patch of bright yellow or white bait, it's going to stand out like a spotlight. Small fish are terrified of sitting on a light spot because they know predators like pike or perch will see them instantly. Even carp will be extra cautious. Your bait should be black or dark brown. Use a proper bait dye or simply mix in some dark soil to tone it down. The goal is for your mix to blend perfectly with the bottom. You want the fish to find it by scent, not by sight. It's all about making the fish feel safe. Create a comfortable environment for them, and they'll reward you with plenty of bites. Let's talk about feeding tactics. Forget about heavy initial baiting. Tossing 10 orange-sized balls into the water is a mistake. All those splashes are just going to spook the fish. In March, you've got to be subtle. Just drop in one small ball, maybe the size of a walnut. Or if you're using a feeder, keep it small. You want to hit the water with as little noise as possible. The fish are incredibly skittish this time of year. One loud splash and the whole school will move off. It's much better to toss in a tiny bit every 20 minutes to keep them interested, rather than bombing the spot like an artillery strike. If you're float fishing, you don't even need to make balls. Just throw in some loose mix to create a cloud of sediment. That cloud is what really draws the fish in from a distance. Mobility. That's the name of the game. In the summer, you can just sit in your chair, bait a spot, and wait for the fish to come to you. But in March, the fish aren't moving. If you've been sitting there for 30 minutes without a single bite, move. Don't sit around waiting for a miracle. It's not coming. You have to go find them. Move 10 yards to the side. Switch up your depth. Try casting near some fallen timber or the reeds. Fish are holding in tight spots this time of year. You could be just a few feet away from a school and not even know it. Success in March is all about the hunt. Pack light, just a chair, the essentials, and your rod. Whether you're hole hopping or casting a float, check the spot and keep moving. If you keep searching, you'll find that school of silver. But if you stay static, you're going home empty-handed. Timing is everything. And no, you don't need to be up at 4 in the morning. In the early spring, the water is at its coldest at daybreak, and the fish are still sluggish. In March, the action usually doesn't pick up until the sun has had a chance to warm things up toward midday. The golden window is typically between 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. As soon as the sun starts to dip and the temperature drops, the bite shuts off like a light switch. Use this to your advantage. Sleep in, have a decent breakfast, and aim to hit the water around 10. You won't miss a thing. In fact, you'll arrive fresh and ready right when the fish are actually starting to feed. It's one of those rare moments where being a little lazy actually makes you a better fisherman. Bait presentation is key. In March, crucian carp are drawn to motion, but you have to keep it slow. If your float is just sitting there, give it some life. A tiny nudge of the rod, just an inch or two, is all it takes. Lift the bait slightly, then let it settle. Dragging it slowly across the bottom works wonders too. You're trying to mimic a small insect or larva stirring in the silt. Most of the time, the strike happens the very second you stop. It triggers a natural reflex. The prey is escaping, so the fish has to grab it. But remember, keep your movements fluid, never aggressive. Sharp jerks will only spook them. Think of it like operating a delicate puppet. Be gentle, be subtle, and stay in control. Le vent puis les petites vagues. Bien du monde déteste ça, mais pour un pêcheur, le vent, c'est un vrai allié. Un léger clapotis en surface, ça aide à te cacher des poissons. Quand l'eau est plate comme un miroir, le poisson voit ton ombre sur le bord puis il se sauve dès que tu bouges ta canne. Les vagues, c'est ton camouflage. En plus, le vent brasse l'eau puis ça l'oxygène au bout. Le côté du lac où le vent frappe, c'est souvent là que ça mord le mieux. Le vent pousse toute la nourriture de surface vers la rive, puis ça crée un courant de fond qui brasse le sédiment. Faut pas avoir peur du vent. Habille-toi chaudement, puis installe-toi face à la brise. C'est drette là, dans le ressac, que les plus grosses pièces se tiennent pour ramasser tout ce qui tombe à l'eau. L'analyse du fond, c'est la clé. Si vous pêchez au feeder, ne négligez jamais l'étape du sondage. Cherchez une transition, comme le passage d'un fond de vase à un fond dur ou rocailleux. Essayez aussi de repérer une petite cassure. Chaque anomalie sur le fond est un abri potentiel ou un vrai garde-manger pour le poisson. Sur un fond plat et monotone, le poisson n'a aucune raison de s'arrêter. Il cherche des structures. Même un petit creux ou une légère bosse peuvent devenir un véritable aimant à poisson. Consacrez les 30 premières minutes de votre session à explorer le relief avec un plomb marqueur. Ce temps investi sera largement récompensé. Il vaut bien mieux chercher pendant une demi-heure pour pêcher efficacement ensuite, plutôt que de fixer un sion immobile pendant 4 heures en ayant lancé votre ligne au hasard. Тишина на берегу – это первое правило. Вода сейчас холодная, прозрачная, и звук в ней передается моментально. Стук ведра, громкий разговор, тяжелые шаги. Рыба все это прекрасно слышит. Карась крайне осторожен. Если он почувствует угрозу, он не обязательно бросится на утек. Он просто закроет рот и замрет. поэтому ведите себя максимально тихо. Не хлопайте дверями машины, к самой воде подходите аккуратно. И обязательно следите, чтобы ваша тень не падала на поплавок. Маскировка – это не только дорогой камуфляж, это в первую очередь ваше поведение. Постарайтесь слиться с природой, а не быть слоном в посудной лавке. Помните, чем тише вы сидите, тем ближе к вам подойдет рыба. Making the most of those finicky bites. In March, the action can be incredibly subtle. Your float might dip just a millimeter, nudge slightly to the side, or simply stop in an unnatural way. Set the hook at the slightest suspicion. Don't wait for the float to dive or lay flat. It might never happen. Crucians tend to take the bait, hold it, and just sit there. If something feels off, they'll spit it out instantly. Your reaction needs to be lightning fast. Use a light, fast-action rod to keep your hook set short and snappy. Instead of a big sweeping motion that could tear the fish's lip, just use a quick, sharp flick of the wrist. Fishing is a total mental game. Don't give up. March really tests your grit. You can sit out there for hours without a single bump, and you'll see plenty of guys pack it up and head home early. But then, out of nowhere, it's like someone flips a switch and the bite is on. Early spring fishing is a waiting game. You've got to trust your spot and trust your tactics. If you've done the work, found the right structure, dialed in your finesse gear, and got your bait right, the result will come. The fish are there. You just have to wait for that feeding window to open. Patience is a fisherman's greatest strength, and in the spring, it pays off big time. Last but certainly not least, let's talk safety. If you're heading out on the ice, you need to be extremely careful. March ice is deceptive. It gets soft and honeycombed, and unlike midwinter ice, it won't always give you a warning crack before it gives way. Never go out alone and always keep your ice picks within reach. Even if you're fishing from the bank, watch your step. Shorelines are incredibly slick as the ground freezes and thaws throughout the day. Trust me, taking an unplanned dip in freezing water is the last thing you want. No fish is worth your life. Dress in layers and don't skip the thermals. When you're warm and comfortable, you'll stay sharper and enjoy the experience a whole lot more. Stay safe out there, so your time on the water is nothing but a good time. Bon, la gang, vous avez maintenant votre plan de match complet. Le mois de mars, c'est pas le temps des excuses, c'est le temps des vrais stratèges. Oubliez les mythes qui disent que le poisson dort. Pantoute, il vous attend. Faut juste changer d'approche. Des fils plus fins, des hameçons minuscules, de l'appât naturel, de l'amorce foncée mélangée avec de la terre. Puis surtout, trouvez les zones d'eau plus chaudes. C'est ça, la recette du succès. Essayez d'appliquer juste 3 de mes conseils à votre prochaine sortie. Puis, je vous le garantis, vos résultats vont changer du tout au tout. N'ayez pas peur d'expérimenter. La pêche, c'est une quête éternelle pour trouver la bonne clé. Merci d'être resté jusqu'à la fin. Si vous avez aimé la vidéo, abonnez-vous à la chaîne puis activez la petite cloche pour rien manquer de la saison de pêche en eau libre. Laissez un petit like, c'est la meilleure façon de me dire merci. Maintenant, j'ai une question pour vous. C'est quoi votre plus gros poisson capturé au tout début du printemps? Écrivez-moi ça dans les commentaires, on va jaser de vos trophées. On se voit sur le bord de l'eau.